Hey friend, welcome to my podcast, The Fit Soul. I'm your host, Amy Ramsey. In this podcast, we will be discussing soul-filled strategies to unleash your confidence, increase your energy, and all the things healthy lifestyle. If you're a Christian woman who is ready to reach your God-given potential, walk worthy of your calling with abundant joy and energy, girlfriend, you are in the right spot. I mean, you only have one life to live. You might as well maximize it. Buckle in, and thanks for listening. Hello, friend, and happy April. Happy second quarter. This podcast today is going to be short and sweet, but very practical to help you really unleash your potential. So, welcome back to the podcast. And it is a beautiful, gorgeous day. As I'm recording this, I'm literally sitting outside and my two dogs are sitting right next to me. You might hear birds chirping or planes flying overhead. I just couldn't go inside. I couldn't do it. I'm all about being outside. And anyway, in the South, we have to catch these perfect days before it gets too hot or it's too cold. Okay, friend, I've got my coaching hat on today. And I just got off of a coaching call with my Walk-Worthy mentorship. We are setting goals for the quarter. If you've never done a 90-day goal setting run, it's pretty life-changing. And I help them establish exactly how to do that. It can be completely overwhelming if you set your goals too high, or maybe you don't understand why you're not moving forward and kind of getting a beat up cycle. So there's some dynamics that I can help you overcome, and that's what I do in this group. And today on this podcast, I want to help you overcome by understanding some gaps or traps that are keeping you from growth, therefore keeping you from your potential. And your potential is inside of you. It's already there. Your potential is the spiritual gifts, the talents, the abilities that God uniquely put inside you. See, you moving forward is powerful because with your uniqueness and the way that the Lord created you, you're the only one who can do your specific mission and assignment here on this earth, on this world. And I know that there was a time in my life where I knew I wasn't living up to my potential. I was allowing fear to sabotage me. I was paralyzed with some of these different things. I'm going to help you maybe create a place to where maybe you can recognize, oh, that might be where I'm kind of getting stuck. I shared this with my coaching group, and they were like, oh my gosh, that was super helpful. And this podcast is to bring clarity for you, because that's the first high performance habit you need to move forward in your life is clarity. If you don't know where to aim your focus because it's all too muddy, then you're not going to move forward. Okay, so I've got my coaching hat on, life coaching hat on. I'm helping my clients establish their 90-day goals. And I've got this, part of this written out on a plan, a midlife master plan. And I break this down inside of this free gift. So I'm going to put that link in the show notes. And I highly encourage you, highly encourage you to download that and to go through it. And in my mentorship, my Walk-Worthy mentorship, I'll put that link on this podcast as well. I help women actually put it into action. Sometimes having a plan is the first piece, but when you've got a coach to help you, the goal of a coach and a mentor is to help call you a little higher and to see the good in you and to help challenge you a little bit and to push you forward. So it really is a powerful thing when you work with a coach or a mentor. I can't recommend it enough. That's why I dedicated my effort and energy to helping others. Okay, so let's get to this, the law of intentionality. this is directly from John Maxwell. I want to give absolute credit where absolute credit is due. I have this I love this Bible. I have the Maxwell Leadership Bible. It's by John Maxwell. He is, for personal development and growth, he has just been such a mentor to me through his books and through his teachings. And I was reading through this and I found this in my Bible. And he has different books, so I do recommend his books. So I don't know which book it is actually. And I actually had somebody ask me that. I'm like, gosh, I don't know. It doesn't say. But you could probably Google it. So this is the Law of Intentionality. And the point of this is growth doesn't just happen. And for us to reach our potential, it's something that we are obviously intentional about, but it looks forward with hope and with optimism. It implies it implies fulfillment, and as John says here, it is a hint at greatness. So God has put inside of you He has placed inside of you potential, and our job here on this earth is to unleash that. And the only way we unleash that is actually by growing. And he has 3 laws of growth. And today I'm just going to talk about this one. And this is the law of intentionality and how growth doesn't just happen. It's not automatic. You have to go out of your way to seize opportunities. For growth to happen in you actually, I feel like it's just cliched, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Get out of your comfort zone, right? And understanding that sometimes there's mistaken beliefs that keep us from moving forward. And I fell victim to some of these. And what I would love to know is which ones of these are you falling victim to? Because when you understand which one it is, these are gaps. And it's between you and your fulfilled potential. So let's get started, shall we? The first gap is the assumption gap. I assume I will automatically grow. Just understanding that is actually not true. I tell my clients all the time, if you're not moving forward, you're not standing still. You're actually going backwards. Even if in your growth is just you're in a place of rest and renewal, that's actually growing too. So, gap number 1 is the assumption gap. Okay, gap number 2 is the knowledge gap. I don't know how to grow. I don't know how to grow. So my friend, let me explain to you very quickly a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And a growth mindset says, I can learn something. I can develop new skills. If I don't know, I can ask. I mean, we live in the world of let me Google this. I mean, at our fingertips. Some people won't remember encyclopedias, but when you needed information, you had to go to a book, and your encyclopedia said maybe very outdated. You know, we live in the era of Google. And for us to develop this sense of, I want you to understand this. I'm not talking about self-reliance, because when we're believers, we rely upon the Spirit of God inside of us. But self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is very different. It states just this, that I don't know, but I can find out. I can learn. I can read. I can research. I can ask somebody who does know. I can take a class. I can take a course, right? Okay, I said I was sitting outside, and oh my gosh, that didn't last. I had to move this inside. Okay, back to the podcast here. I can learn. That's why a lot of people will hire a coach, a specific coach, for sports, or even in a mentorship like mine. It's learning certain skills. Like when we just, I don't know why I'm saying like so much, sound like a Valley girl, but when we understand that I can achieve, I can move forward, but if I don't know, maybe it's a skill set that I need to learn. Okay? This is a big difference. Learning the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And Asking yourself questions regularly. Am I being open here or am I closed? Do I have that fixed mindset in this situation, in this area? All right, the next is the timing gap. It's not the right time to begin. Man, I can just leave that one. I feel like I can just leave that right there. We've all been there. We've all done that. Let fear take over. And I'm telling you, that is a gap and it is a trap. All right. Number 4 is the mistake gap. I'm afraid of making mistakes. The only way you're going to move forward in anything in your life is by doing it messy. Making the mistakes. You're going to make some mistakes. Part of growing is also taking a few risks. It's not going to feel safe. And that never feels good. It feels better to feel like you're completely safe. So just remember that is the mistake gap. All right. Number 5 is the perfection gap. I have to find the best way before I start. The perfection gap / perfection trap is what I see keeping most entrepreneurs stuck. And I just want to encourage you that if this is you and you're in this perfectionistic mode, please, please, please know there is hope on the other side of it. In fact, I think I recorded a podcast on this. When I started to step out of perfectionism and just take messy, unprepared action and learned this powerful word, simple word, but it became a banner for me. And this word is to suffice. When I learned to suffice, like, oh, it's not what I really want it to be. I know it could be better, but I'm going to suffice and I'm going to move on. And how to shift my priorities and to get into action. It was so powerful. So to all my perfectionistic friends, I see you, I hear you, I was that. I am making progress in this area and it is changing my life. Oh my gosh, I just want to encourage you. I want to encourage you to suffice and let this one go because it is such a trap. Okay, the next one is the inspiration gap. I don't feel like it. You know, this one is especially for our health and wellness goals. I don't feel like working out. Can you relate? I don't feel like eating the healthy thing. I don't feel like doing the hard thing that I need to do right now, whatever that is. And it's not about your inspiration. It really isn't. That is going to wane. That if you're looking for the motivation to hit you, you're never going to fully move forward. There is a place, a time where it is just intentional. Again, this is about the laws of intentionality. It is an intentional act. It takes discipline. It takes decision. All right. Next is the comparison gap. Others are better than I am. This one is a sneaky one, is it not? We hear comparison trap and comparison gap, and we know it's a real thing. But I also think it can be very subtle, and we're falling for this in areas we don't even realize. For instance, you might even be reading a book or listening to somebody's podcast, or you see them on social media, or you know them in real life, okay? And you're talking to them. In fact, let me give you an example. The other day, I was having coffee with a friend of mine, and I love her so much. She was telling me about all of the amazing things that she is working on. So I support a ministry that she's a part of, and she keeps me up to date. And I'll go ahead and say it. Her name is Betty Hodge. For those of my local friends, they would know exactly who I'm talking about because she's just incredible. And we are intentional about trying to get together. And she was telling me about all of the stuff that the ministry is doing. And they've got this and they've got this. And oh, Amy, we started this thing for entrepreneur moms. And oh, Amy, we're doing this. And oh, yeah, and I'm hosting this conference this summer. And I was so excited for her. Like I was listening to her, so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And you know what happened? I left and I had a twinge of, I'm not doing enough. Wow. How does Betty have all that capacity to do all of that? And she has family. How does she have all that capacity? And for a moment, I started to think, Amy, you've got to get yourself together. Like, come on, come on. But I recognized the comparison trap. I recognized it, and I refuted that. I'm like, nope, I'm just going to cheer on my girlfriend who's doing amazing things, and that God has gifted her, anointed her, appointed her for this very special thing that she's doing and given her this capacity. And we have different seasons in life. But do you see how simple and subtle that is? That was me cheering on a friend and very excited about all that she's doing, and then later feeling like, wow, I need to be doing more. You see what I'm saying? I'm telling you, that one is with social media. Ladies, we've got to watch out. Comparison is the thief of joy, but asking yourself, where am I allowing comparison? And it's subtle. How are the subtle ways that I'm allowing this comparison to paralyze me? And the last one here is the expectation gap. I thought it would be easier. Any dream, desire, goal that you have, it will, rest assured, it will take you longer than you think it's going to take you. And it will be harder than you ever dreamt, ever imagined to achieve that goal. That's just life. It just is. We underestimate. What's really interesting, I heard some science just recently, and it was talking about 10-year out goals. We underestimate how hard a goal is going to be the first year, and we overestimate how hard it will be 10 years out. There's something that's very powerful that happens when you get into consistent motion. You create compounded consistency, and that creates some pretty massive momentum. And so the more we get into that motion, but I think that it's the job. This is my job today. Like I really, almost if you walk away with nothing else, know that I feel like it's a leader's job. So my job as the leader for this next few minutes as you're listening to this podcast, I would love to just pour this over you, is that we have to understand it's an important thing to set expectations. And when you expect that the goal is going to be harder than you thought, probably take you more effort, more energy, and more, maybe even more time, then it doesn't feel discouraging or disappointing when you don't achieve the goal in the time frame in which you set. The goal is meant to stretch you and to push you. But what I've learned, and I've learned this because I operate in the capacity of goal setting, is that whatever I think, I do set goals. And if I don't achieve it in the time frame for what I thought, then I'm okay with that. I really am. I've gotten to where I'm okay with that. For a long time, I let it beat me up. Or I would get stuck and hustle and grind and hustle and grind and hustle and grind to make a certain time happen. We make our plans. We have to make plans for our lives and goals based on what we believe that God is calling us to do. And we operate at the speed and capacity and pace and the rhythm and pace of His grace. I mean, there are things that are always out of our control. What we can control of ourselves is really important. Our agency and building that self-efficacy to achieve the goal. Gosh, I hope this is helpful for you. Is it? Let me know, because I think this is really profound when you start to recognize which gap do I have. So let me review that. It's the assumption gap, the knowledge gap, the timing gap, the mistake gap, the perfection gap, the inspiration gap, the comparison gap, and the expectation gap. To overcome these gaps and become intentional about your growth, your personal growth, your professional growth, your spiritual growth, ask yourself, where does God want you in your life? Where are you going? And what's the furthest you can imagine going? Dream it bigger. Whatever you dream that thing, dream it even bigger. I'm convinced most people dream way too small, and most people don't go after their dreams. I'm just going to say that right there. And then get moving. Motivation, this is John Maxwell. Let me read this. This is great. Motivation is not going to strike you like lightning. And motivation is not something someone else can bestow or force on you. Forget it. Just do it. Like Nike, right? Just do it. So switch. So for you to reach your goals, I really want you to be intentional about your goals this 90 days. If you want that midlife guide, master plan, check that out in the show notes. Now, look, if you want my help, I am taking one-on-one clients right now, and I work with clients in many different capacities. We can hop on a discovery call. You know what? I'll throw that in the link as well. We can hop on a discovery call and see if it's a good fit for you. I also have my Walk-Worthy mentorship. I have poured my blood, sweat, and tears into this mentorship. I created a group where we have live group coaching calls, whether you watch them live or on the group or on a replay. And I send a voice-activated daily text every single day based on the growth, on that worthy framework. It's a property, it's what I've written. Worthy is an acronym for being whole, optimized, resilient, transformed, healthy you. Listen, God's got a plan for you. He's got things he wants you to do here on this earth. And the more that you recognize the inherent worth that the Father's bestowed upon you and move forward in that capacity, that Ephesians 4:1, Paul urges us to walk worthy of the calling for which you are called. That Ephesians 2:10 that says, I am a masterpiece. I am a workmanship created in Christ Jesus for good works that he prepared for me to do in advance. So God's got good works that just you with your unbelievable masterpiece, wonderful, unique, incredible self can do. And I don't want any of these gaps to hold you back. I hope this brings some clarity for you. So for you to reach your potential, you got to get to moving. Don't wait for it to come. Be responsible. Accept personal responsibility for these things that are holding you back. Rely on your effort and hard work and character and discipline, not good luck. That's not the way people become successful. You got to take some risk, and you just can't play safe and stay in your comfort zone. You need to rely on your character more than just your talent. And you never, ever, ever stop growing. You're going to keep on growing until the day you die. Oh my goodness. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much. I say that with such a humble and grateful heart. Thank you for being here, for listening. I appreciate you, and would love for you to download this episode. That's a big thing with podcast. Did you know that I wasn't even downloading my own podcast? So if you don't mind, would you hit the download button? And I believe there's a download automatically button. You can get this every single week. And please share this with a friend. And if you would like to pursue any type of conversation with me, hit me up. I'm always on Instagram or Facebook in my messages. I read every single one. I've also got links here in the show notes where you can just go check it out. You can book a discovery call with me. You can learn more about my Walk-Worthy mentorship. And I've got that free guide for you too. All right, friend. Well, I'll see you back on Friday for our Faith Forward podcast on Friday. Bye. Girlfriend, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I'm so honored you come back every week and that you share the Fit Soul podcast with your friends and family. Every time you share my podcast on Instagram or Facebook, I do a little happy dance. Make sure you subscribe to the Fit Soul podcast where you'll never miss an episode. You can go to Podcast, Apple, Stitcher, and Spotify and subscribe so you'll never miss an episode release. And just know, I truly love bringing you excellent content and great guests to provide you motivation and faith inspiration to help you walk worthy. And one of the ways you can help me is to go and leave the Fit Soul podcast a review. If you have just a moment, would you please go over and leave a review for the Fit Soul podcast? Thank you again. I love you. And here is your reminder. You are worthy. Until next time, bye-bye.